British Texan, nothing but deserts with dangerous animals. They give you nicknames longer than the actual name. I have a question. Is any of this even real? Are these people even real? Cause ever since I traveled to Australia from America this year, Aussies have proven over and over again how they know how to run their nation better than any of us Americans do. So today, I want to go back and read the worst comments I have ever seen from American travelers to see if they actually make sense or not. But a fair warning to you, this will be some of the most horrendous things you've ever seen. Like, I can't even finish half of them. But let's get into it. Okay, so disclaimer here. I had to edit it out or hit some of the offensive stuff. But overall, bro, these are some of the worst comments I have either found in my own comment section about Australia or anywhere on social media and travel forums. And let's see if it's a valid complaint or is it just American being American as always. And the first one is Aussies in real life are pretty neat people, but they are crazy hateful people on the internet, having a one-sided beef with America almost like an obsession. Okay, so before I traveled to Australia last year, I was also worried about it, seeing how rare it is to have Aussies praising anything American on the internet. So I thought you guys didn't like American. But come in here, bro. None of the Aussies made fun of me knowing I came from America. If anything, you guys are the most passionate and friendly bunch I have ever seen. Yes, you may have issues with some Americans giving out tips and snapping fingers to call the waiters over as if they were still in America. But I don't think Aussies have any crazy obsession with letting America live rent-free inside their mind. So this comment, unfortunately, is not valid at all. Plus, it's not like anyone says anything normal on the internet. And maybe the comments hating America are not even from Aussies at all. It's not like you can pretend to be someone you're not, right? But that was only the first one, with so many a lot were still waiting down the line at the perfect time to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more of this. But the second one came from an American tourist on one of the travel forums, and she says, I've always wanted to travel to Australia, but I've noticed Australians were so rude and treated us pretty much like garbage. I've traveled all over the world and have never been treated like this. And it gets even more interesting when in the comments below, other Americans were actually arguing against her statement, saying how I knew a couple from Hawaii who had visited Australia and said the best thing about Australia was the people. So even American travelers don't get the same experience traveling in Australia. And this comes down to what I've said before. Have you, as an American traveler, broken any rules without knowing? Like, bro, did you toss away rubbish or being too obnoxiously loud in public or making fun of Aussie food, saying how man it tastes so much better back in America in front of any Aussies? And I'm saying this since I feel like Aussies aren't the type of people to be rude to you without any reason behind. So if you're having a bad time traveling in Australia, then maybe, just maybe, you're the reason and not them. But you know what? I do hope your blood pressure is still doing fine, cause I'm absolutely dreading to read the next one. And that is, I moved to Australia and regret it. The whole nation is soulless and such a boring place. It's isolated, they have no culture, it's too expensive, the scenery is not even that amazing. Excuse me, bro, excuse me, did we go to the same Australia? You sure you didn't accidentally fly to Austria instead of Australia? Cause man, we have polar opposite experiences being here, bro. Even though he said he moved to Australia, well, I was only traveling here for a few weeks, so maybe it does get boring and the view does get less stunning if you were to be surrounded by it every single day. Listen, I don't know, but saying Australia is soulless without any culture just feels wrong, bro. The mateship and seeing one another as equals is culture. Bringing in food from other nations and keeping their original flavor without adjusting the taste to fit the locals, that's culture. The epic sense of humor to turn everything they see into a fun little joke, bro, that's the peak of culture. So please, American tourists, just because you don't get Aussie culture doesn't mean there is none, my man. If anything, America, especially on the West Coast, is the one really without any culture at all. I live there, bro, I should know. Everything is crazy brand new for capitalism by the big companies, compared to Australia where it's easy to find buildings dating back almost 200 years. The difference is simply obvious. But now I do want to switch up a little bit to see how the British think about Australia. Cause with 600,000 visitors from the UK traveling to Australia last year, there's bound to be a few horrendous complaints entering this one. And they say Sydney was a huge disappointment and wasn't what I expected, as I always thought Sydney was a laid-back city, but I have never encountered people this rude and emotionless outside of London. And when I gave tips to the driver, he didn't even want the money. Excuse me bro, are you trying to give people tips? What is up with everyone and their mom coming to Australia believing you got a tip like American? And listen, I've only been to Sydney once, but when talking about big cities like Sydney, London, and even San Francisco or Tokyo, etc., bro, things are always busy and crazy chaotic. So it makes sense for people to look miserable with no emotion, maybe a bit rude from time to time. I know you're traveling to Australia and you're excited by the trip, but sometimes you just catch people on the wrong day. So I doubt you should blame the whole city for being disappointing if you were to come across a few Aussies not having the best day of their life. Also, most of those comments seem to be complaining about the taxi drivers being unfriendly. And I just want to point out and say that it's a taxi driver thing. You know how unfunny it is to sit in a box and drive all day? Bro, try to put on the biggest smile after driving for 12 hours and see how impossible it is. But the next one, I have to say, it's pretty interesting because it came from an Aussie living in the US warning any American not to come to Australia. And he says, a lot of people moving to Australia, you're not prepared for the isolation from the rest of the world with time zone and distance, which is hard to imagine if you came from a place that gets everything like the US. And I have to both agree and disagree, since Australia is far, far away and you do get isolated from that state. If you happen to have a favorite non-Aussie singer or band, there's a great chance they may never come to play in your city. But you also get isolated from a lot of nasty stuff, like America hates Russia, China hates India, and Europe is looking to spiral back into the dark age as well. You're safe from all of that because you're literally 10,000 or more kilometers away. If anything, being isolated from other people's drama feels like a blessing nowadays, am I right, mate? And one of the comments below, I just can't get over it. Like, he outright said, I'm an American living in Australia and I'm unhappy because Aussies don't invite me to be their friends. Excuse me, but you have to put efforts into making friends. You can't just passively wait for friends to spawn around you. Why are you blaming Aussies for this? But I can guarantee you nothing would drive you even more insane than the next American comment I found. And that is, please calm down and get yourself ready, as he literally says, I like Australia since I always like Mozart. Excuse me, brother, excuse me, bro. Like, what do you see on the Wikipedia page for Mozart? Bro was born in Austria at a place called Salzburg, not Australia. I don't even know if they're kidding or if they legit need to go back to elementary school, bro. And this goes down the list of Americans always confusing your nation with others. They think Switzerland is Sweden, they think North Korea is South Korea, they think Taiwan is Thailand. Next time your American friend tells you, hey bro, I just got back from your home Australia, I guarantee you they're talking about trip to Austria. And the worst thing is, bro, this is like one of those icebergs. Now you know some of them, but there's still a lot more buried deep in the internet that you don't even want to read. But at this point, it's safe to say that most Americans know nothing about Australia, and we will continue to believe that the US and A will always be the greatest. But this is why in this video, I want to go over the biggest things that Aussies are doing way better than Americans, and why we have to learn from you guys right now. And you can click on the video to find out what they are.